I want you all to think back to what happened after Jussie Smollett faked a hate crime that was so obviously fake. Everybody called it out. Now, some people were rather cautious, like, this does not sound real. That a couple of guys at 2 a.m. in freezing weather in Chicago, in an area where no one lives, attacked Jussie Smollett while yelling, "This is MAGA country." Yet, what did we see from the media? They said this is indicative of the culture of this country and how bad things are getting. Elliot Page, at the time, Ellen Page, goes on TV. "What is happening?" Yelling. "Oh, what a world." I think it was Big Bang Theory. Did this big group photo. And it was all fake. Now take a look at what the media is doing in response to what happened in Nashville. A psychotic individual, a far left extremist, shot 3 9-year-old children and 3 faculty members. From the New York Post, NBC freelance reporter ripped for linking Nashville shooting to Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire. Man, I just can't. This is crazy. And it's more than this. The New York Times, USA Today, other outlets are all oops, we shouldn't misgender this individual. Cult members work in media. And what we're seeing from some of them is they're gloating. Let me show you some of how the media has responded. Here's the New York Post. A freelancer for NBC News was blasted over a since-deleted tweet in which he appears to link the mass shooting at a Christian school in Nashville with the conservative media outlet, The Daily Wire, and its star commentators Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh. Benjamin Ryan, a health and science reporter whose bylines also have appeared in the New York Times, Reuters, The Washington Post, and other outlets, posted a tweet on Monday in the aftermath of the shooting that left 6 people dead, among them 3 children, at Covenant School in Nashville. The shooter, who was identified as a transgender woman, this is, you know what, man? Trans man, New York Post. This is wrong. This is the confusing thing. I was recently talking to some dudes. They brought up sports and all this stuff. And surprise, surprise, was at a poker table. I had to try to explain to someone who was clearly offended that a transgender female is a trans man and a transgender male is a trans woman. It is almost I would imagine it's intentionally confusing. Audrey Elizabeth Hale, a woman, a female, wanted to be a man, wanted to be male. So technically you can argue transgender woman means it was a woman, biologically female, who was transgender. You see how that makes sense? But it's confusing because typically trans woman refers to a biological male. Anyway, I digress. Ryan appears to imply in his tweet that Hale, a Nashville resident, was motivated to carry out the mass shooting due to the fact that the city is also where the Daily Wire is headquartered. NBC has ID'd. Well, here's the tweet. NBC has ID'd the Nashville school shooter as Audrey Hale, 28, who identifies as transgender and had no previous criminal record. Nashville is home to the Daily Wire, a hub of anti-trans activity by Matt Walsh blog, Ben Shapiro, and Michael J. Knowles. This is how the media responds when a Christian school is targeted in an act of terrorism. They attack. Man, it's amazing. Ryan then deleted the tweet in response to backlash. One Twitter user wrote, 6 dead plus the shooter, but this is how they cover it. Their agenda is so freaking transparent. Another wrote sarcastically, NBC News, you people only hire the best. One Twitter user called Ryan a gay activist masquerading as a journalist. Another Twitter user denounced Ryan as an absolute ghoul. The Post has reached out to NBC News and Ryan seeking comment. The Daily Wire has also been contacted for a reaction. Here we are from the Post Millennial. USA Today accuses Nashville police of misgendering trans school shooter who killed 6 people, including 3 children. That's right, misgendering. That's their concern. Here we have people who are suffering from a DSM-5 listed mental disorder. They're being given medications, typically antidepressants, hormone treatments, and I believe this chemical cocktail is causing severe mental crises. We see it with a lot of other shooters, too, these drugs. USA Today accuses the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department of misgendering the woman who shot and killed 6, including 3 children, at the Covenant Private School on Monday. The individual who was identified police, we know this, used he/him pronouns. Police said that Hale was a woman throughout their reports, but said during the press conference on Monday that she identified as trans. USA Today wrote in a tweet, police on Monday afternoon said that the shooter was a transgender man. Officials had initially misidentified the gender of the shooter. The tweet led to some criticism. Filmmaker Robbie Starbuck responded to the tweet, "Hey, USA Today, none of us in Tennessee could give a damn if the mass child killer got misgendered. Police did a great job today, and they didn't misgender her. She was born a girl, and she died an evil, mentally ill woman. You should be ashamed doing this as families grieve." This is the tweet from USA Today. It's shocking. Another user said, "I don't give an ish about your pronouns. If you shoot up a school, you're a psychopath if you hurt people, full stop." Libby Emmons of the Post Millennial says it's not the children killed that triggered USA Today. It's the suspect's delusion was not upheld by the police. And there's more, of course. There's many more. CBS News tweets, update. Police identified the suspect as a 28-year-old Audrey Hale, who they shot and killed at the scene. CBS News is still working to confirm Hale's gender identity. Matt Walsh says, the police confirmed that the suspect was 28 years old, named Audrey Hale, and identified as trans. CBS takes them at their word on the first 2 points, but doesn't want to accept the third point. I wonder why. Here's what I see. Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire, they're in Nashville, and their messaging helped lobby for the banning of child sex change surgeries and medication. This, I believe, resulted in far left extremists, instead of taking the political approach, as the Daily Wire does, as democracy dictates, took the violent, extremist, murderous approach, as many of these far leftists often do. The Spokane ICE facility, a far left extremist who said, "I am Antifa," went and firebombed it and shot at cops. He was killed. You had a man in Portland, Aaron Danielson, shot and killed by far left extremists, a man who had a Black Lives Matter tattoo on his neck. Georgia, down in Atlanta, 150 far left extremists firebombing houses, vehicles, breaking into government facilities. One of the people charged was a Southern Poverty Law Center attorney. The extremists are not playing the same game as you. They have allies in media, in finance, in politics. Now, regular people still reject this, which is why they have to tread carefully. But you can see it in the narrative. The corporate press should be coming out attacking the psychotic ideology of this individual, as they normally would. But you see, psychologically, they're on the side of this individual. On March 7th, the Ezra Klein Show, the New York Times. If you read the GOP's anti-trans policies, you'll see what it really wants. Twitter supported this. Facebook supported this. Now, you want to talk about white supremacy and white nationalism? Well, guess what? These platforms banned all of that. But I will personally hold Jack Dorsey, Vijagade, responsible for singling out one group of people for special privileges. Special privileges. Because I said it back then and I'll say it now. On the show, on Joe Rogan, I said, why are you giving one group preferential treatment? And they said, because of their high rate of self-harm. Body dysmorphic people have a high rate of self-harm. Dentists have a high rate of self-harm. Police officers have a high rate of self-harm. We don't want anyone to hurt themselves. Why are you giving preferential treatment to this one group? They didn't have an answer. Not a legitimate one anyway. And we can see now what happens. What we are witnessing, in my opinion, young people who are confused are being, you get these teachers and they'll go to a young boy and a young girl. And there's a video I don't know if I have it pulled up, actually. I might. I don't have it pulled up right here. They go to these children and they say things like, we don't know if you're a boy or a girl. That's for you to decide. These kids become confused and get older. Then when they're like, I don't know what a boy or a girl is, they get a doctor who says, maybe we should put you on puberty blockers until you can figure it out. These kids are being put on hormonal treatments, which affects mental development. They're then getting depressed because they don't understand what's going on and why they don't fit in and why they feel bad. They're then being given drugs. We see it with so many detransitioners who are saying this was wrong, I was lied to, I was tricked. It's horrifying what's happening. Some people have compared it to the modern day lobotomy. The fact that they sterilize children like Jazz Jennings. Jazz Jennings is an adult human being at this point, but Jazz is sterile, completely sterile, will never have children, will never have a family, a biological family. Jazz may still one day find love, then adopt, and that's all fine too. But I wonder what's going to happen to these people when they realize what was taken from them. Perhaps the hope is because they grew up and never experienced anything else, they can't understand what was taken from them. I don't think that's true, though, because I think what's happening with this mass shooter, with other people like this, is that they're starting to realize what was taken from them. The way I described it yesterday, before Timcast IRL was abruptly taken down, and I think is an important point to be made. I want you to imagine it this way. An individual is young, and they're told to sign up for social media if they want to fit in. You have to, and they do. And everyone they follow on social media, famous individuals, they all dress like Chef Boyardee. The men and women are wearing big poofy chef's clothes, the chef hat. And they've got like a neckerchief and it's all white. The men are all dressed that way. The women are all dressed that way. Well, in order to fit in, you want to wear the same clothes as everybody else. I noted this because Ezra Levant, yesterday, our guest, was wearing a suit. Now, why wear a suit? Why wear a suit jacket? Because it presents an image. At the same time, Hannah Claire Brimelow was wearing a leather jacket. Because it's clothing. You don't see people going out and wearing things you've never seen before. You don't see the average person deciding to dress like a clown. Because social issues play a role in how we choose to present ourselves. You know, I wear this shirt because I think it looks good. But looks good to who? To me? No, to other people. Maybe you don't think it looks good because it's not absolute. But we dress ways that are based on social norms. Now imagine someone goes on social media and everyone is dressed like Chef Boyardee. To them, in their world, everyone dresses this way. They want to fit in too. So they start dressing that way as well. Then one day they go outside dressed like Chef Boyardee and they go to a restaurant and people are laughing at them and snickering and saying, is it Halloween? What are you doing? And they're like, I don't understand. I'm dressed the same way as everybody else, but no one is dressed this way right now. Why are they laughing at me? That's what's happening on a grand scale. These young people go on TikTok, they go on Instagram, and the only thing they see is they are inundated with gender ideology and the woke cult. Why? Because of the algorithms. But in the real world, people don't behave this way. So imagine, another simple way to put it, is if everyone online spoke Pig Latin. And then you went outside to go buy a cheeseburger and you couldn't understand what was being said. It's causing severe mental distress. People are not understanding this. These young people are like, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do to fit in, but it's not working. I talked about this yesterday. There's this viral clip of a trans man, a biological female, crying, saying, why are people misgendering me? Showing off mastectomy scars. I don't want to be called a lady. That's what the person says. And here's what I see happening. This individual was on social media. And I went to the history, the past history of these social media posts, and it was a normal young woman, average young woman, saying they had a crush on boys and making funny videos. And then all of a sudden, their channel started to transform into non-binary, into then trans, similar to Dylan Mulvaney. And I thought to myself, why is this person crying? Why does this person expect other people to see the world they do? And there it is. I think TikTok is doing this. I think Twitter did it. I think Facebook did it. YouTube does it. Evil people run these companies. I do not give Jack Dorsey the benefit of the doubt. I believe when he was presented with a crisis, he said he would play ball. And so here's what happens. This normal young woman goes onto TikTok and the only thing she sees is LGBTQ, trans, etc. Inundated with it. Well, we want followers, we want likes, we want to fit in. We are social animals. So you can watch the transformation occur from a normal, average young woman to a woman crying surgically with breasts surgically removed, saying, "Why won't people call me a man?" Because on the internet, surrounded by the cult, which is a small percentage, you are in the echo chamber and you think this is what I have to do to fit in with society. It's almost like a grand social experiment, whether accidental or otherwise, where you surround people. Think about how cults work. They isolate you from everyone else. They keep you in the cult. And if you talk to people who have grown up in cults, I don't have experience myself, it's really hard to break away because the world outside is so dramatically different. Think about prisons. There's that famous scene in, I think it's The Green Mile, where the guy spends his whole life in prison and is finally paroled. And then he takes his own life. Because the outside world is so different, he doesn't know how to live. He doesn't know how to function or fit in. Everything about him is so different from everyone else. This is happening on social media. Young people are being siloed into an echo chamber. In the real world, when you walk outside and go to a gas station, someone's wearing a t-shirt and jeans. But on the internet, you craft your social circle and you're fed it by an algorithm. Everyone you follow and everyone around you is dressed a certain way with a certain haircut. Many have received double mastectomies, and that is normal. And that's what you have to do to fit in, because fitting in means survival. Then you go outside and no one behaves that way. And you don't understand what's going on. I've done everything I'm supposed to, but why is everyone so different? It's the Daily Wire's fault. It's Christians' fault, right? That's what's going through these people's minds. And it's how we end up with this degree of extremism. George Takei, he tweets, "In case it's not clear yet, the problem is the Republicans." And he posted this morning. A psychotic individual went into a church and school and murdered 9-year-olds. Murdered 3 9-year-old children and 3 faculty members. And George Takei thought it appropriate the following morning to say it's the Republicans' fault. What did they do? Oh, interesting. I see what he's saying. The Daily Wire said no. Michael Knowles said no. Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh said no. Many others did as well. Steven Crowder said no. I said no. And you see, that's the issue. Now, I don't consider myself a Republican. Probably be more interested in voting for the Mises Caucus, to be completely honest, but certainly not Democrat, so I'll take what I can get. George Takei is basically saying it's our fault. It's the Daily Wire's fault for standing up and saying no. Because if you just let the extremists win, they wouldn't have to do that, would they? I don't see how it's Republicans, stodgy, suit-wearing, run-of-the-mill dudes who did anything. Now, they'll try and lump in the far-right extremists with Republicans, but spare me. Republicans don't even fight. The Daily Wire is like the first iteration of conservatives standing up and doing anything activisty, getting laws passed in Tennessee to stop the mutilation of children. And George Takei is angry about it. It's your fault, he says. The problem is Republicans. How could that make any sense? Unless what he's saying is, if the Republicans just did not fight back, they wouldn't have needed to do this. Insane. The problem is psychopaths and murderers. Dr. PMS says, is it showing trans day of vengeance and a call to arms? So no, it's not conservatives' fault. And I don't think it's going to end here. Because we're not going to let these psychopathic individuals and these big tech companies keep doing this. I don't know what the solution is. The restrict bill they're putting forward to ban TikTok is actually Patriot Act 2.0. Republicans voted for it. I think TikTok is a problem. I think Facebook and Twitter are problems. I think Jack Dorsey, I think the reason he's basically disappeared is because he knows He set fire to our house and then fled. And it's not just him. It's Facebook. It's all these people. They know they're burning the whole thing to the ground, and they don't care. I think they don't care because, they profit off of it. And they'll get to live well and do whatever they want while everything else burns down around them and other people suffer. The billionaires ain't going to be suffering. But you'll be, as the ideologies become more extreme and fighting escalates, and I think it will. Because right now the activists are saying they're actually the victims here. They're saying the shooter was a victim. Not exaggerating. They're saying this shooter was the victim of this school and of these ideologies and of conservatives, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know how to navigate out of this. It's not so simple to say step back when people are doing things like this. We need law enforcement, and I think we need stronger government. I know it's funny how the libertarians are going to get angry. What I'm saying is we have laws on the books that aren't being enforced. Plain and simple, enforce them. There are many laws in the book that should not be enforced and shouldn't be laws at all. But for the time being, we shouldn't need to have a law banning sex changes for kids. It probably falls under dozens of statutes already, but our government is weak, our politicians feckless, and they let this happen. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.